Good evening, Seclusion Works. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. All the trivia tonight is on the Speedway murders, or otherwise known as the Burger Chef murders. 1978 in the state of Indiana. Sprinkled Donut, good evening. Happy Sunday to you as well. I hope you had a great weekend, Sprinkled Donut. Cement Shoes, good evening, Cement Shoes. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Glad you could be here with us tonight for trivia. All the questions tonight are on the Speedway murders, aka the Burger Chef murders from 1978 in the great state of Indiana. Gemma, I'm sick, but here. Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I'm sorry about that. Well, I'm glad you could be here anyways with us. I hope you feel better soon. I hope Cement Shoes hopefully is feeling better. On the mend. Cement Shoes has been a channel member for 52 months. Well, thank you very much, Cement Shoes. I greatly appreciate you being a channel member for all those 52 months. I hope you will be for another 52. We're going to give it about another minute and 30 seconds ish, and then we're going to get this going. Just waiting for people to get their notifications, and that I'm live and I'm here. Let's see, did I get a notification? Let's do. Am I live? Yes, I got a notification. I'm live. Huh. Don't always get one. Gemma says, I've been a member for 25 months. Well, thank you very much, Gemma, for being a channel member for 25 months as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Callie Lisa, been a member for 3 months. Thank you very much, Callie Lisa. I greatly appreciate, each and every one of you being channel members. And when it comes to support, there's not a lot out there, and I know the economy sucks everywhere, but I really do appreciate it. It helps pay the bills and keep this content going. I can't express enough just how much I appreciate it. I've never heard of this case, so it'll be a 100% guessing for me tonight. I put alarms in my phone. Those notifications are unreliable. Yes. Or, I could tell people, Cement Shoes, you can make a post-it note and put it next to whatever device you watch, live streams on, maybe a laptop, tablet, PC, because they're every single weekend at the same time, on Saturdays and Sundays. You know that I'm always going to be a member of your family. Yes, you are, Gemma. Callie, Lisa, you get notifications. It's a rarity. I don't always get notifications with one of my other YouTube channels, the Taco Podcast. I actually subscribe to this channel for one now, and I don't even get all notifications when I put up new content or when I'm live. That's sad. When I can't even get notifications of my own actions. All right, let's get the trivia night going. This is the 351st episode of Trivia Night. 351st episode. Tonight's trivia subject matter, the Speedway murders, was suggested by Cement Shoes, Carol M., Mark Lloyd, and it was suggested by The Finn. Regina, good evening. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Regina. Glad you could be here with us tonight. All right, Trivia Night it strictly adheres to factual evidence and verified data by the FBI and the Department of Justice. It does not include conspiracy theories, speculation, or unverified claims about what may have happened. If you are seeking sensationalism or content related to similar theories or lies spread by those who can't be bothered to do the research on the topic, this event and topic may not be the right fit for you. Additionally, neither I nor my advertisers or sponsors associated with this content shall be held responsible for individuals under the age of 17 accessing this material. It is age restricted to every single site that I stream to. So if they are accessing it, they have done something, i.e. lied about their age to access it. Additionally, we are not liable for comments on live chat or messages, as these do not necessarily reflect our views or opinions. That is not for YouTube, so per se, it's more for the other venues that I stream to. This program documents actual crimes and offenses by criminals. Some of the content covered here may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. With that in mind, question number 1 is now on your screen. In what city and state did the Burger Chef murders take place? Was it A, Speedway, Arkansas, B, Speedway, New Jersey, C, Speedway, Indiana, or D, Speedway, British Columbia? Question number 1 of 20. Excuse me. Gotta get myself in my little window. Hello, Will in his little window. Mini Will, and good evening, lemon pie. Sorry about the coughing there. My throat got dry all of a sudden when I started talking. Where did the Burger Chef murders take place? Arkansas, New Jersey, Indiana, or British Columbia? Since the city is all listed as Speedway. Lemon pie on the set of The View. On the set of The View, that's where the Speedway, the murders took place. All right, question number 1. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Speedway, Indiana is the correct answer to question number 1. Question number 2. What date did the Burger Chef, aka the Speedway murders, occur? Was it April 1st, 1977? B, November 17th, 1978? C, December 25th, 1979? Or D, January 1st, 1978? What date did the murders occur? The Burger Chef Speedway murders. Regina is going with C. I actually ate a piece of lemon pie today. Lemon pie or lemon meringue pie in an awfully long time. My mother-in-law makes a lemon pepper cake. It is so good. Lemon pepper cake. Question number 2 of 20. When did the Speedway murders take place? Lemon Pie is going with E, on Earth Day. Question number 2 of 20. All right. The correct answer for when did the Speedway Burger Chef merge take place? The correct answer is B, as in boy. November 17th, 1978 is when the Burger Chef murders took place. Question number 3. How many Burger Chef employees were abducted and eventually murdered on November 17th, 1978? Was it A, 4, B, 5, C, 6, or D, 3? Question number 3 of 20. How many Burger Chef employees were abducted and eventually murdered on November 17th, 1978? Ooh, she had a piece of lemon meringue. November 17th, 1978. Terry S., good evening, and welcome to tonight's trivia. I'm glad you could be here with us tonight for trivia, Terry. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Question number 3. The correct answer is A, as in apple, 4. There were 4 employees who worked for Burger Chef restaurant who were abducted and then eventually murdered on November 17th, 1978. 4. Did you know at the crime scene there were several pieces of evidence overlooked or not paid a lot of attention to? One such piece was a broken handle of a knife handle, which was not collected right away or tagged or even photographed until later. A knife, the handle, broken handle off of a knife. They walked right on past it. They saw it there, but they didn't think it was a key piece of evidence to the crime. They walked right on past it, did not tag it, photograph it, nothing until later on. Question number 4. What was the total amount of money that was stolen from the Burger Chef tills and safe prior to the murders? Was it A, approximately $200, B, $500, C, $100, or D, approximately $3,000? I'm glad you had a great day, Terry. I didn't do much of anything except for sit here and binge watch past episodes of a couple of different channels that I've been trying to, catch up on. I have greatly fallen behind in watching content because some of these YouTube creators that I follow have they pump out 2, 3 episodes of different content per week. You fall a couple weeks behind, and now you're like 10, 12 episodes back. So that's all I did today. Question number 4 of 20. What was the total amount of money that was stolen from the Burger Chef tills and safe prior to the murders? The correct answer, ladies and gentlemen, for question number 4 is B, as in boy, $500. And that is the total amount that the manager who wrote down on the theft report, he wrote down not approximately $500, not $498 or $506. He wrote down total amount of cash that was missing from the tills and safe, $500 exactly. I have a copy, a screenshot of that actual police report for insurance. He wrote down that $500 was missing. Question number 5. Can you pick out the 2 of the 4 victims from this list? We are looking for the people who were actually there who were murdered. Was it A, Ruth Shelton and Daniel Davis? B, Michael Myers and Hannibal Lecter? C, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell? Or D, Alex Cox and Mark Flemings? Can you pick out 2 of the 4 victims who were murdered, who were former employees of Burger Chef restaurant? That was some bucks back then, 1978. Yeah, you could do something with $500 back then. Fortunately, the way things have worked out, $500 don't get you a whole heck of a lot. It costs me right now, for groceries to feed a family of 6, about $430 a week to feed 6 people. Lemon Pie is going with Bob Barker and Alex Trebek. Can you pick out 2 of the 4 victims from the list below? Question number 5. Bex. Good evening, Bex. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. The correct answer to question number 5 is A as in apple. Ruth Shelton and Daniel Davis are 2 of the 4 victims who were abducted and murdered as part of the 4 former employees of Burger Chef restaurants, the Speedway murders. They are 2 of the 4 victims. Question number 6. What eerie fact about Janie Fredette murder suggested she may have been the primary target? Was it A, she was the only one tortured? B, she was the only one shot? C, she had more personalized wounds? Or D, she was the first person murdered? Question number 6 of 20. What eerie fact about Janie Fredette's murder suggests she may have been the primary target? Seclusion works. You spend $215 a month on groceries for one person. My wallet cries every time I go to the grocery store. My wallet cries. And you take that times 3 weeks of the month, 4 weeks of the month. I mean, every month if I go to the store, I'm just like, why in the hell? When is things going to start coming down in prices? Anything? I'm still waiting, and I was promised cheaper eggs. I can't buy eggs, not for where they're the way that my family would eat them. I'd have to buy 3 dozen at a time. Elita, good evening, Elita, and welcome to tonight's trivia. Gemma spends 100 pounds every 2 weeks, which lasts you a month. Wow. But everything's getting expensive. Bread, vegetables, fruit, all the way across the board. Question number 6. The correct answer is C as in cat. She had more personalized wounds, where the other victims were either dispatched, murdered in a one way that either showed that they were tortured with the way that they either stabbed or whatever happened to them or shot or whatever. Hers were more personalized and slow in manner, meaning that she wasn't tortured necessarily, but her wounds were definitely completely different from any other victim of it. And they still believe it, the investigators who looked into the case at 2020, they believe that she may have been the primary target of the entire thing. And whoever did this, or person or persons who did this Burger Chef murder, did so because they were after her, and she was the primary reason why they're there. And it's like, screw it, got to take them all out. Did you know that the Burger Chef murders took place a few months after another high-profile case, the Speedway bombings? Think you haven't heard of the Speedway Burger Chef murders? Look up the Speedway bombings. Question number 7. Put on your aluminum hat, foil hats, people. Why do some conspiracy theorists believe, contrary to evidence, that the victims knew their killer or killers? Was A, they willingly left with the killers or killer. B, a letter sent to police in 1989. C, false evidence found years later. Or D, Chad Daybell told them the facts. It was a popular place. The Burger Chef restaurants. I once worked at a Burger Chef restaurant, not in Indiana, but when I was 18 years old, I worked at one in Linwood, Washington. Craziest thing. I've never seen anything like that in my life, nor have I ever eaten any place like that. The Burger Chef that I worked at was kind of like, think of an IHOP, but with a drive-through window. Anything and everything that was on an IHOP menu, you could get through a drive-through. Pancakes, French toast, freshly made crepes to order, you name it, you could get it through the drive-through. I don't know if that's if all those items are sold at every other place, but they definitely were at the Burger Chef that I worked at. That's when I was 18. That was an awfully long time ago. Lemon pie, a magic 8-ball told them. Question number 7 of 20. The correct answer is A as in apple. In the restaurant itself, when law enforcement showed up at the restaurant, there were no signs of a struggle or that anybody put up any type of a defense of, against the killer or killers, the people who would eventually abduct them and take them out of the place. There were no signs. So they believed that whoever did this, they must have known or trusted the person that they willingly left the restaurant with. Like, oh, they're just going to, this is all part of a joke. Ha, 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 funny, funny, funny. Or something like that. Or this has got to be a prank or something. But there was no signs of it at all. But they would find out later on. Not so fast. Question number 8. What evidence did patrol officers note the night of the abduction and robbery and murders that they did absolutely nothing about? Was it A, not follow up on a robbery next door? B, two strange men sitting in a car in the lot? C, Barry Morphew sighting nearby? Or D, the 911 call and hang up from British Columbia? Ooh, that sounds like a good dinner right there. Barbecue chicken, fresh corn on the cob, and rice pilaf. I can't do the corn on the cob, but I like corn. I have a dental implant. Can't do corn on the cob, but I like corn. Question number 8 of 20. What evidence did patrol officers note the night of the abduction, robbery, and murders and did absolutely nothing about? Ivory Lady. Good evening, Ivory Lady. And welcome to tonight's trivia. I hope you had a great weekend. Question number 8 of 20. The correct answer is B as in boy. Not one, not two, but 4 different officers saw 2 men sitting in a green sedan in the parking lot, backed into a parking spot, and they were clearly watching the restaurant. But they did nothing about it. For hours, the officer said, as he passed the second time, he noted in his notebook that the car was still there, backed into the parking spot, looking at the restaurant, and they did nothing about it. Oh, that's not suspicious. I go to eat at fast food places all the time, and I back into a spot and I sit there for hours. Don't you? But they did nothing about it. 4 different officers noted in their notebooks that night about this green sedan that was there and with two strange men in it. All right, next question, number 9. Who confessed to taking part in a crime only to recant his statement when it was proven he was not anywhere near the burger chef on that night? Was it A, Donald Mr. D. Danville, B, Donnie Brasco, C, Donald Forrester, or D, Donald Just the Facts Man Day? Question number 9 of 20. Who confessed to taking part in the crime only to recant his statement when it was proven he was not anywhere near the burger chef on that night? Pee Wee Herman sighting. Pee Wee. Over at Pee Wee's Playhouse. Terry S is going with B, and so Cement Shoes. All right, Gemma, I will look for them after tonight's trivia. Thank you very much. Question number 9. Lita, Callie, Lisa, and Regina are all going with C. Question number 9. The correct answer is C, as in cat. Donald Forrester initially confessed to being there as part of the crime that took place at the restaurant, but did not confess initially to being part of the murdering anyone. He just said that he was there as part of the robbery. Well, as they pressed him further, he did confess to being part of the murder itself, but recanted this story after they were able to prove Donald wasn't anywhere near the burger chef that night. Matter of fact, Donald was at work. He couldn't have been there that night because he was miles away at work. He didn't think that they were going to check up on it. Well, it turns out that Donald Forrester had an emotional issue, and he actually confessed to quite a few different things. He wanted the attention, and this was his way of being put into the spotlight. Even if it was something, he thought, I can just recant this later on. I can walk back from this. The police took his confession very seriously at that point, and he was lucky they were able to prove. The police proved he was actually not there themselves. They could have just said, all right, we got the confession for one of the people who did this. Now let's go find the other one. But he's very lucky. Question number 10. What is the unusual about the fact that the killer or killers used both a gun and a knife? Was it A, single killers won't use two weapons? B, both were purchased from the same store? C, Barry Morphew used his hands only? Or D, everyone knows drugs kill eventually? Question number 10 of 20. What is unusual about the fact that the killer or killers used both a gun and a knife? Good evening, Purple. Welcome to tonight's trivia, Purple. I hope you had a great weekend. Question number 10 of 20. Lemon pie. It was a super soaker. Question number 10. The correct answer is A as in apple. If there was a single killer theory that the law enforcement initially went after, it's exceedingly rare that a single killer would have been able to control 4 individuals, and it would be exceedingly rare for a serial killer, or just homicidal killer in general, to use 2 different types of weapons. Why did they need to shoot the individuals or stab them? Some of the victims were stabbed and shot. So it wasn't like, okay, these 2 were, or these 3 were shot and no stab wounds were, at all. 2 of the victims had multiple different, injuries. Blunt force trauma, stabbing, shot was one individual. Another one was stabbed twice in the gut and then shot in the head. And I don't want to get graphic about it, but that's how the multiple different weapons were used to dispatch each person. And then one was just stabbed, purely only, not shot. All right, that is our first 10 questions. As normal, during this time after the first 10 questions, we take a break for the next 7 minutes. In this 7-minute break time, you do what you need to do. Shotgun a beer, smoke a bowl, drink a 5th of whiskey. I don't care what you need to do. Make a sandwich. You do what you do, and we will be back in 7 minutes. During this break time, I'm going to cover 2 cases for the Doe Network. These are people who are missing and endangered from across the United States. These are cold cases that are currently open. They do not know what happened to these individuals. And this basically goes over that I'm working with, with several different organizations, the Charlie Project, NAMUS, the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the FBI, local law enforcement, and the DOE network. The first case tonight through the DOE network is Larry D. Thomas, age 65, was last seen on 5/18/2023 from Kansas City, Missouri. He is 5'6" tall, 135 to 145 pounds. He has his eye color is brown. His hair is black and gray, more gray than black. At this point in his life, he has scars on both of his hands from an auto accident where both of his hands went through the windshield of a car. They're very heavily scarred. Do you know Larry? Larry is missing and presumed to have gone underneath foul play, if they believe is involved. The problem is no one knows where he came from, and nor does anyone know where he went. He just simply disappeared. There is no history on Larry at all. Even his closest associates and friends do not know where Larry came from. They don't know was he born in the Kansas City, Missouri area? We don't know. Doing a record search for Larry in the DOE network and the FBI both list his place of birth as unknown. The photo you see is from his driver's license from the DMV, but the DMV doesn't keep records of where you're born. But again, none of his friends or associates know where he is from. He was just there in their community, and there are people who knew him for 5 years, 10 years. He was a fixture in certain, parts of town, in and around Kansas City, Missouri. And then one day he just vanished. If you know anything about what may have happened or where, Larry is today, you can contact the North Kansas City Police Department at 816-274-6013. Again, Larry could have just simply decided to move away, but they do, or that's why he left, just like the reason why he decided to move to Kansas City, Missouri in the first place, or, pop into these people's lives. But nobody knows where he came from, nor do they know what happened to him. But take a look at his photo. If you, are in and around the Kansas City, Missouri area, and you may have seen Larry, or maybe, back then in 2023, or if maybe he's somewhere else today. But they do believe foul play is involved in his disappearance at this point. Next one is Katrina Marie Minshew, age 40, was last seen on January 5th of 2007. She disappeared from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She is 5'2", 100 to 115 pounds. She has brown eyes and brown hair. She is a Native American with hazel eyes and has a tattoo of angel wings and a cartoon character of Tweety Bird on her back of her shoulders. Her nose is pierced and her ears are pierced in 2 or 3 times each, with both upper and lower piercings. She has a scar on her right elbow and skin discoloration on her thigh. Minshew was last seen in Minneapolis, Minnesota at approximately 6 p.m. on January 5th, 2007, and she has never been heard from again. Minshew's last known address was in the 2200 block of 11th Avenue South in downtown Minneapolis. Few details about her disappearance and case are known. There have been tips that have been called in. I'll go back to the photo of her again so you can see that. Take a look at this one, because it does get a little bit grainy as I blow it up on the last one. But there have been tips that have been called in since 2007 of possible sightings of Minshew. There is some possible evidence that Minshew was alive and well, well after the date of 1/5. Like I said, the tips. However, those was only maybe a week or so afterwards. But again, she was there and then she just disappeared. No one knows what happened to her. The last possible sighting you might want to note or tip that was called in in 2024. Was the last tip that was called in or given to law enforcement about Minshew. That tip was not about a sighting of her. It was a tip about Minshew maybe had gone up north to Duluth, Minnesota area, but not by somebody who saw her or knew her, but somebody who said, hey, there's a possibility that she may have left the Minneapolis area and headed to Duluth, Minnesota. If you know anything about what happened to Minshew, you can contact the tip line with the Minneapolis Police Department at 612-348-2345. With both of these cases, you do need to leave your name. You cannot remain anonymous with either one of these cases. The Doe Network, if you go to their website, you can leave an anonymous tip on the Doe Missing Network directly. If you just simply Google Doe Network, DOE-NETWORK, network, Doe Network. You can leave an anonymous tip that way. All right. You still have a couple of minutes left. I accidentally skipped forward too much there. Right now, you have 3 minutes approximately left of your break. Yes, it is very sad, Sprinkled Donut, that there are so many people that are missing. In case you're not familiar with the Charlie Project, the Charlie Project is the largest database of missing and endangered people in the United States of America. And it covers every single state. You can actually go to the Charlie Network, scroll down on the main page, and you can search by geographic location. You can put in your own city you live in. You may be surprised to find how many people are missing from your own geographic location. The last time I did it, now I live in a town currently where there are 43,000 people in my city. In my local area here, according to the Charlie Project, there are 1,000 plus people who are missing from my geographic location. You don't know. And good evening, Kitty Coo. You're still not home. So many flooded roads. I'm sorry. I Love Scotland is here with us tonight as well. I Love Scotland. Good evening. I hope that you both had a terrific weekend, and I hope that you've been able to stay safe out there. I'm glad that both of you could be here tonight for trivia night. I am doing well. Terry S. There's been a few here in Tampa. A 7-year-old girl, a mile away from me, got off the school bus and then disappeared. That's sad. When it comes to Terry, when it comes to children under the age of 12, over 1 million children disappear. 90% are found within a short period of time. But when it comes to children, the old stranger danger is not as prevalent and never has been as much as people made it out to be. Most children disappear because of non-custodial parents. That is one parent over another who does not have physical custody, or somebody who is not supposed to have the child with them for one reason or another. That is why most children disappear. But again, better than 90% of them are found within a short period of time. It's that last 10% that we need to have awareness about. Such crazy weather, tornadoes in Tennessee there. I'm sorry, Sal. And good evening, Sal, and welcome to tonight's trivia. All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Without further delay, let's get back to our normal programming. Question number 11 is now on your screen. Let me get myself back in my little window there. Hello, Will in his little window. Question number 11. Why did the police never release a composite sketch after the murders or since 1978? Was it A, they didn't want to scare off the killer or killers? B, they forgot? C, they lost them? Or D, they just didn't care about hippies? Question number 11. Why did the police never release a composite sketch after the murders since 1978? I'm sorry about that, Terry, but it's nice that that you work with them. Sprinkled donut. I'm hanging in Scotland. Are you in Scotland right now? That's cool. Oh, are you hanging out? Hanging out. I may have misread that. It went flying by. Question number 11 of 20. The correct answer is A as in apple. They never released the official composite sketch of either the killer or killers, the two men who were seen in the green sedan backed into the parking spot watching the establishment. They never released it because they did not want to scare off the potential killer or killers. And I know you're saying to yourself, that's dumb. Why not release it now? What's the harm? The case is a cold case and it is still actively open. They could release it anytime they want. In fact, when it comes to the composite sketch of the two men who were seen in the car by eyewitnesses, the only time it has ever been seen in the file was by the producers of the movie that was based on the Burger Chef murders. They were the producers were the first people to see it besides the law enforcement. They have a lot of evidence in this case, and it could be solved. And DNA profiles have been put into CODIS and have never matched another known case since 1978. Evidence that was collected in the 1990s from items of them from each and every one victim did produce DNA that did not belong to the victims, and that is in CODIS and is still not matched anyone in the system. So this very well may have been a one-time event by these killer or killers. Are they likely alive from 1978? Yeah, the chances are they could be. They could be in their 50s to this day. I mean, well, they'd be older in the 50s. Question number 12. Where were the 4 dead employees found? Was it A, a parking lot behind the business? B, a wooded area in Johnson County? C, a NASCAR track in Florida? Or D, in the men's bathroom of the Burger Chef restaurant? Question number 12 of 20. Where were the 4 employees found dead? Callie Lisa's going with B. Lisa and Terry are going with B as well. Question number 12 of 2020. All right, the answer to question number 12 is, in fact, B as in boy. They were found in the area in Johnson County, wooded area. There's a little bit of a clearing next to the tree line, and they are all found murdered and laid out on the ground in the same area. A lot of deaths for $500, right? Sprinkled donut. Very good point. But the vast majority of evidence that was collected was found there at the scene where all 4 employees were found murdered. Question number 13. What caliber of pistol was used to kill 2 of the 4 victims? Was it .223, B 38, C 45, or D 22? What caliber of pistol? What caliber of bullets? Question number 13 of 2020. Question number 13 of 20. Gina, Kalalisa, and I Love Scotland, and Terry are all going with D. Question number 13. The correct answer is B as in boy. It was a 38 caliber pistol. No pistol cartridges were found at the scene, so law enforcement came to the conclusion that it was some type of revolver that does not discharge the spent casing after it is shot. There were none, but all of the bullets that were retrieved from the victims at autopsy were 38 caliber. Did you know, in the years after the Speedway murders, a theory that has gained a lot of traction online is that the murders were all retaliation for a drug deal gone wrong, with no actual proof any of these teens used drugs or were involved in drugs. There is a very large Reddit forum that has been going for years. At this point, I think it goes back probably about 4 years, along with Quora forum, where people have been talking about this case, and the overwhelming majority of people believe that drugs were somehow involved in this, or it was a drug deal gone bad. There is absolutely no evidence, according to the FBI, that drugs were involved or that any of these teens were involved in drugs. They may have smoked marijuana occasionally, but that they don't have any evidence that says that this was a drug deal gone bad. Although the internet talks about and comes up whatever they want. All right, next question is number 14. What single piece of evidence was discovered in 1980 that led investigators in a completely different direction? Was it A, empty Burger Chef wrappers, B, bank bag from Burger Chef, C, confession by a killer, or D, a jailhouse snitch ratting out to law enforcement? Question number 14 of 20. What single piece of evidence was discovered in 1980 that led investigators in a completely different direction? Question number 14. Lisa's going with D. Kitty D? Question mark, question mark. I don't know. Could be D. Could be B. Could be A. Could be C. Lita is going with D as well. Ooh, Terry, D, question mark. I don't know. Sal and Regina are both going with D as well. Ooh, Ivory Lady is going with B. For question number 14, I Love Scotland is going with D. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the correct answer to question number 14 is B, as in boy. The bank bags, deposit bags from the actual restaurant turned up at a flea market. The bags, when the money was stolen from the safe, it was in a zipper bank bag that has a lock on it. No one had ever seen the bank bags again. They weren't found at the crime scene and they never turned up. At this flea market in 1980, 2 years almost to the day that the murders occurred, the bank bags turned up and they showed that they were actually cut open, bypassing the actual lock on the zipper bag itself. And there was no real evidence that there could have been, gleaned from it, but they finally now know what happened to the bank bags. Again, they turned up at a flea market, and the person who was selling them at the flea market said that they bought them in a lot of other personal items that came from someone who had been evicted from a home or an apartment complex or something like that. And they traced all that evidence back, trying to find out if that person was involved. And it turns out that the items that were sold turned out they came back to a lady, and they weren't even they're not looking for a lady. She had no association with anyone who was a man who could have been part of this robbery. She had no children. She was just somebody who was cleaning out her stuff. And yes, she was being evicted from her residency for non-payment, but had sold off all these things in like a lot. But bank bags. Question number 15. How was victim Mark Flemons murdered? Was he A, stabbed, B, shot, C, poisoned, or D, blunt force trauma? Good evening, Joe Tallchief. Welcome to tonight's trivia. I'm glad you could be here with us, Joe Tallchief. You should watch in rewind later on, Joe Tallchief. One of the missing persons cases for missing and endangered individuals is for a woman who went missing out of the Minneapolis, Minnesota area and may have traveled, and left Minneapolis and headed towards the Duluth, Minnesota area. That doesn't mean she stayed in Duluth. It doesn't mean it's actually factual either, but she disappeared from Minneapolis, the Minneapolis area. Question number 15 of 20. How was Mark Flemings murdered? All right, question number 15. The correct answer is D as in dog. Blunt force trauma. Mark Flemings was the only one that the wounds that they had to their body, stab wounds, were superficial, but blunt force trauma to the head was the one and was the causing reason for his actual death. Mark Flemings. Question number 16. What method was used to murder Ruth Shelton and Daniel Davis? Was it A, stabbed, B, poisoned, C, ran over by a truck, or D, shot in the head? Question number 16 of 20. Her name doesn't sound familiar. Minshew. I think it was written last name, Minshew. Catalisa is going with A. Terry is going with D. QQ B. Question mark, question mark. And Lita is going with D. How were Ruth Shelton and Daniel Davis murdered? QQ D. I meant D. All right, the correct answer to question number 16 is in fact D as in dog. Ruth Shelton and Daniel Davis were both shot in the head. Micho. Thank you, Joe Tallchief. Micho. Sorry about mispronouncing that. Did you know the state never released an official record, the location where the 4 Burger Chef employees were murdered? A vast majority of what is known is by leaked accounts from former law enforcement and media FOIA requests, but they never released the actual location. To this day, there's pictures of it. There's notes of where this area is. But even the question we had earlier, we know they were killed near a wooded area in what county, but they wouldn't say, oh, it's off of Road 39, or it's at the end of a dead end cul-de-sac. They would not say where exactly it was. What information has been known at this point? Again, this is an open case. It is not closed. You have to file, a request with the court, FOIA request to even get any information out of it all. And the one time that the case was actually, the files were opened and shown to anyone outside, again, was to the producers of the made movie about it, about the actual Speedway murders. Question number 17. Last but not least, how was Jane Friette murdered? Was she A, shot, B, poisoned, C, stabbed by a hunting knife, or D, ran over by a truck? The fourth and final victim, how was she actually murdered? Question number 17 of 20. For ladies, going with A, Cal, Elisa, Sal, Lita, and Kirikou are all going C. Terry is going with A as well with Ivory Lady. But Kirikou is hedging her bets with a question mark after hers. And I Love Scotland is going with D as well. Question number 17 of 20. The correct answer to question number 17 is C, as in cat, stabbed with a hunting knife. And this hunting knife was broken off and the blade was embedded in her body. And that handle of the knife was found on the ground, that they first ignored at first. They didn't think it was a huge issue, or something important, until they found that the knife blade was stuck in the victim. And they're like, oh shit, we should probably pay attention to that. And then they photographed it and marked it and put it into evidence. But she was stabbed with a hunting knife. That was her cause of death. Question number 18. What massive mistake did the management of Burger Chef do that most likely caused this case to never be solved? Was it A, they cleaned the crime scene? B, they couldn't be reached for days? C, they spoke to the media? Or D, they moved the bodies? Question number 18 of 20. What massive mistake did the management of Burger Chef do? And yes, you are correct, Joe Tall Chief. They were all young. They all had their lives ahead of them. Senseless murders. Question number 18. A seems to be a popular one. This question. Question number 18. The correct answer is A. A as in apple. They cleaned the entire restaurant. When they first came to the place, the police notified management and the owner that the employees were all gone and that the place was unlocked. They came in along with other employees and they made them clean and do the jobs of everyone else, thus destroying any type of evidence, fingerprints or anything that might have been left behind. Gone, completely obliterated. And this is one of the things that they do not have. They do not have fingerprint evidence to track down who the perpetrators are, because everything on the restaurant had been scrubbed away. Good going. The police should have secured the location. That's their fault too. Question number 19. What did law enforcement believe happened initially to the missing employees and the missing money? Was it A, they were all at home and this was part of a robbery. B, they stole the money to party. C, there was no missing money or people. D, aliens had abducted them, and this was a robbery. The Finn, good evening. You're not too late, and you can always watch the rest of it and rewind. That's the best thing about it is the video and the stream is here on YouTube for days afterwards, months, years afterwards. But I hope you had a great weekend, The Finn. Question number 19 of 20. Ooh, Kitty Coop going with B, question mark. Could it be B? Could it be D? Could it be A? Could it be C? Question number 19 of 20. The correct answer is B, as in boy. When law enforcement was made aware that the restaurant was empty and was not secured, they walked around and they realized that the tills were all open. They believed at that point, and they started the investigation as, oh man, a bunch of teenagers robbed their employer and they're probably off out partying somewhere. So they started the investigation as a robbery by employees, and didn't think anything major, like this had happened. I mean, who takes 4 employees and murders them, somewhere else? But they didn't think about that at all. That was not on their radar. They investigated it and wrote it down and put it into the actual entry into the crime book and it's actually called a crime ledger. And it's an actual book that they used to have back then in 1978, a ledger. They wrote it down as a robbery by employees. They would be found to be completely wrong, as you can say. Did you know, right after the murders of the Burger Chef employees, an anonymous caller called law enforcement and media claiming to be one of the murderers? He had details only someone who was there would know, and none of these calls were actually recorded. There were 2 calls in total, one to law enforcement and one to the media. And there may have been a third hang-up call where the person didn't say anything to law enforcement, but had details only someone who was there or took part in the actual murders would have known. But maybe the conscience of one of the 2, if there were 2 people, got to them and they said, I gotta get this off my chest, and they try to confess to it. But it wasn't the guy who falsely confessed. Question number 20 of 20. What infamous criminal organization was looked at for these crimes by the FBI and state and local police? Was it A, the Morphew Mountain Lions, B, the Heaven's Gate, C, the Dixie Mafia, or D, the Gambino crime family? Question number 20 of 20. What infamous criminal organization was looked at for these crimes by the FBI, state, and local police? Oh, yeah, they did. Law enforcement, there were so many mistakes that were made throughout this entire thing. That's why, in case you guys are not aware, the Speedway murders, the Burger Chef murders, is an open case and has not been solved. They do not have anyone that they have been looking at since 1978 for these crimes. They don't have a suspect. They don't even have anyone that they can say, look, well, this person may have been involved. The whole thing happened and then went dark for, after about the first 2 years. After that, nothing. The entire restaurant itself has since been bulldozed. It's the restaurant is not even there anymore. But yes, law enforcement made a lot of errors. So did other people within the community. Management, you could say had an issue, a part in it too. They cleaned the restaurant. They left these 4 teens, there at the place to close it up. There was very little security or anything at all when it came, to the actual restaurant itself. But question number 20, the correct answer is C, as in cat. The Dixie Mafia was heavily looked at by the FBI, state, and local police departments as a possible organization that may have carried out these actual murders. The Dixie Mafia. How did you do on tonight's trivia? This is completely optional. You do not have to give yourself a letter grade. Some people like to keep track of how many they got right and how many they got wrong. But we are only here for fun and entertainment purposes, and that is it. Learn something new. Next is a sneak peek at our poll question that I post every single Monday by 10 a.m. on the community tab here on YouTube. Yes, there is a community tab where I post notices of upcoming videos or streams. Like you could have known about what the trivia subject for tonight is, 5 days in advance. Some people want to read up on these things. But there is a community tab. But this is a poll question that I post every single Monday by 10 a.m. You do not have to answer it now. You can answer it later on the community tab. But the question of the week is, does the United States of America need more gun laws to control criminals from getting guns? A, yes. B, no. C, maybe. Or D, no opinion. Can we talk about your savior instead? Joe Tall Chief feels an obsession coming on. Oh, it's quite all right, Sal. We all live busy lives. And you can always watch it and rewind. But like I said, this poll question will be up on YouTube tomorrow by 10 a.m. Every week. I post a new question of the week. And that is it for the trivia. Well, like the beginning of the trivia says, at the beginning, all of the trivia subjects that we do are viewer suggested, every single one of them. So if you have a suggestion for a topic or an individual, if you're watching this live, put it in the chat. If you are watching this in rewind, leave it as a comment. If there is a subject matter that you would like to see covered on trivia night, I will look into it, and I will if I get enough suggestions or enough time, heck, I might be working on that subject right now. I generally work on 3 or 4 different trivia subjects at the same time. I have a tendency to go down rabbit holes. You do as well as me, Joe Tall Chief, as well as me. I find that a subject matter, and it could be days, weeks, months, years, lifetime. I couldn't understand, or I'm always interested in the psychology behind what makes people do what they do. Why does a murderer, they kill one person, right? What makes that person decide to do it again? This is what's always going through my mind. So I'll start reading about it. Yeah, what after Ed Kemper killed his grandmother, what made him sit there at the dining room table waiting for his grandfather to come home so he could shoot him and kill him? And then after going away to the state hospital and lying and getting out, what made him start killing co-eds? Things like that. And off of the track of murders, I've gone down rabbit holes trying to reading about weird religious cults. Boy, have I been down that rabbit hole for quite a few years. Been sick and you're having an MRI on Wednesday. I wish you luck. I hope that they find out whatever is causing your illness, Sal. Joe Tall Chief, you like Christopher Watts? In your opinion, who do you feel was responsible, Will? I think the two guys, one deceased, the other one unknown whereabouts, were responsible. Could have been Finn. I'm reading into the information that was gathered by the people who did the actual movie about the Burger Chef murders, and all the pictures you saw tonight on each and every one of the questions. Those are the four actors who portrayed the victims in the movie. When it comes to actual pictures of the real victims, all of them are black and white. They're from newspaper clippings. So I didn't want to have a black and white photograph for each and every one of the victims. I wanted to pay more respect for them. But there isn't a whole lot of photographs that are out there of each of them. There are some people who are holding, like their mothers or sisters or uncles or somebody who's holding a picture at the graveside, but it's not a really good quality photograph that's in color. But those are the four actors. But while reading into this, there may be a strong case of whoever was involved in the Speedway bombings may have been connected to the Speedway murders. So, and there's a lot of evidence that points in that direction, that whoever was involved in the bombings may have been involved in this as well. What evidence do they have? I don't really know, in that circumstance, but there's definitely a lot of connections there. I've always wondered what goes through a killer's mind. Then again, makes me feel sick. Yeah, I can understand that. Terry S., you were raised in a cult church. Well, Terry, I don't know what church that was, and that's your personal information. You can keep that to yourself. But I just want to point out that any religion can be considered a cult. When I'm talking about like religious cults, I'm talking about some of the most wacky, weird freaking ones out there that most people would never have heard of. I've researched everything from like doomsday cults, doomsday prophecy churches, and teachings, everything from like the David Koresh's, the Heaven's Gate cult, doomsday prophecies like that, religions, and to those that worship weird objects as their deity. Like there is a church that is actually from the Santa Monica, California area that worship a fish. They believe that this certain fish that is in the ocean, there are millions of them in the ocean. I can't remember what stupid fish it is, but they believe that the fish are the reincarnation of their loved ones and their spiritual guider. I thought I wish I was joking about that, but it's true. But there's also religions out there that worship people like Reese. Pee Wee Reese, the serial killer. There is an actual church that worships Pee Wee Reese and a lady. They believe that they are their spiritual hierarchy. Non-denominational church ruined many lives. Yeah. Well, when I was a little guy, I was probably from birth to about 4. My father was a Roman Catholic, and then after the Roman Catholic Church in our area, small farming community in Wisconsin, closed, it became a Catholic church, and it still is to this day. But then we converted from Roman Catholic to Catholic church. But a lot of people look at Roman Catholic, and they're like, that's a cult. I mean, anything can be considered a cult when it comes to religion. To each their own. I'm not here to judge anyone. If as long as you're not harming someone else, then by all means, believe what you want to believe. If you want to wear, the same type of sneakers and pants and shirt, and castrate yourself and then cover yourself with a sheet, so you can get on the next, mothership that's hiding behind a comet, great, go right ahead. That's up to you. How does that work about the fish thing? I don't know, to tell you the truth. I love Scotland. I I have a whole section of books over here on the other side that are just about cults. I've probably got a dozen, if not more, and that's just the ones that I read. I keep as in here as references. Um, there, when you take you look at Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell and Chad's weird beliefs about being part of like the fringe of the Latter Day Saints. His ideas are not new, and people need to understand that part about him. And there are parts about the Branch Davidians, and David Koresh and his beliefs, and stuff like that. They're not new. He just took parts of this and this and this and made them his own. And a lot of these group leaders do that. I have a friend whose church doesn't kick you out for getting divorced or 2 divorces or 3 divorces, but will get you kicked out if you divorce 4 times. Really? That's strange. Magic underwear, right? I mean, if y'all, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I find religion in these people who've joined these cults. You think, I'm too smart. I would never get suckered into doing that. I would never join a cult. You would be absolutely surprised on some of the smartest people and the most sharpest, people who are looking out for those tells, who get sucked into these things, and end up, married off to, and like, oh, you're already married and now you have another husband, or you have another wife and husband that you're attached to permanently. And these are real, situations that have happened to some really smart people. And they're like, no, I wouldn't. It would never happen to me. You can't say that for sure until you're in that situation. It happens. The same church worships the Mother Mary, but women can't be priests there. They came in to do care, so I could only listen to the second half. I'm sorry, Smith Shoes. I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're on the mend. You went down a rabbit hole with Julie Rowe. Yeah, I can see that happening. but you got the hell out. I don't, when it comes to religion, I don't care who anybody worships. If you want to worship a fish, worship a fish. If you want to worship Pee Wee Reese, worship Pee Wee Reese, or the reincarnation of of your religion and beliefs. Do that. If you want to sit and meditate on the top of a mountain, go right ahead and do that. Again, as long as you're not harming other people, I don't care what anybody does. I don't care if you don't believe in it at all. When it comes down to it, a lot of like religion, people, whenever the shit really hits the fan. Sorry for my language. When it really hits the fan, though, that's when people turn to religion. But a lot of people, not everyone. I mean, there are people definitely, who are practice and believe in it. I mean, and so it's up to each person. Not for me. Twisted beliefs. What do you think of Henry VIII? Henry VIII, I am. I've never actually done a lot of research on Henry VIII. I know the Monty Python skit of Henry VIII. I love Monty Python. Matter of fact, I might watch Monty Python later. The Holy Grail. I get such a kick out of that movie, or the Flying Circus. You can't see it, but where my finger is. All these are record albums here. That's Donovan right there, this record. And then here on this shelf, and then on the other shelf that you can't see, which is just like this one here, I have more records. And that's what this is right here. Record player. Because I'm old like that. And my music goes around and around. It reminds me of Herman's Hermits, the song. Yeah, Henry VIII thought M-I-M. Yeah. Gotta run, Sprinkle Donut. You have a great week. Thank you again for coming in and playing trivia with us tonight. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a terrific week ahead. You stay safe out there. And as Purple always says, remember, you never know who's going to be standing next to you next. And you never know who's going to be knocking on your door. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up tonight's trivia as well. I want to thank everyone again for being here tonight with us to play trivia. I hope you found the trivia subject matter, interesting. If you're not subscribed, I would hope that you would, give me a, subscribe. It's free to, click that subscribe button right underneath this video. You will see the subscribe button right there, and nice and big. But if not, if you give it a thumbs up, if you liked it, that is subscribe button should be right about here, and the like button should be right about there underneath this video. But thank you again, everyone. I hope that you all have a terrific week and you stay safe out there. Bye.